boy Darius here back in for the video, and this time we are here for 3 disturbing true Halloween horror stories by Mr. Nightmare. Man, we're sitting here on Thursday, October 31st. It's like the monologue, opening monologue of the Batman. It's been going around, the internet. Everyone's been talking about it because it's perfect. Thursday, October 21st or October 31st. Perfect. It's Halloween, man. So I'm gonna watch this Halloween horror stories. Now, it was my every intention of doing a Dead Space live stream tonight. I've been streaming some Dead Space, man. Check out those past 2 streams if you haven't seen them already. I was gonna do one tonight, but I just got off of an 8-hour shift. Right. I still have to work those because I'm not getting that YouTube money, that sweet YouTube money. I'm not getting that yet. And I'm blaming you for that. I'm blaming all of you people for that, all right? Because you're not hitting the subscribe button. You hit the subscribe button, all right? I've been a little too nice about it. I'm telling you, hit the subscribe button, all right? For Halloween, I'm dressed as John Wick. I got the all black like John Wick. At my job, I got to dress up anyway, so I was like, you know what? Throw on all black. I'll be John Wick. John Wick is telling you. The black John Wick is telling you. I got the pencil too. Hit the subscribe button, or else I'm gonna take this pencil. You know what? You know what he does with pencils? I'm gonna take this pencil, and I'm gonna. I can't say that on YouTube. What am I thinking? Anyway, man, hit the subscribe button. All right, help me get to 1,000 subscribers. Help me get that sweet YouTube money. Okay. So instead of doing Dead Space, man, I'm gonna sit here and watch these Halloween horror stories. Okay, I'm gonna grab some candy. You grab some candy as well, man. We're gonna sit back with some candy, rip this bad boy open, watch some Halloween horror stories, man. Make sure you go over to Mr. Nightmare and subscribe to him, man. All right. So without further ado, let's get it. Story 1 by Gray Yin. I got this candy.
This is a disturbing memory from my young childhood.
Oh God.
I was about 7 or 8 years old. My mom would usually take my brother and I trick-or-treating.
Okay.
But this particular year, after school, she dropped me off at my friend Sean's house, where Sean, our friend Johnny, and I would go together.
I'm pretty sure this
Johnny
candy's
and Sean
stale.
were a year older than me. We met while I was playing with my brother on the block. Johnny and Sean lived around the block from me. Sean had a weird upbringing that I never really understood. His sister was like 20 years old. There was a big gap between them. She was always his caretaker, it seemed, whenever I was at his house.
I got that myself.
His house always smelled like cat, and his sister always had a different guy over, it seemed like.
Oh.
His sister was always cold to me, in the sense that she'd never acknowledge me or say hi or anything.
Acknowledge me!
Sean's dad was never in the picture, and his mom, I believe, was always working out of town, I guess. I only met Sean's mom a few times. We never really stayed in touch for long enough for me to figure all this out.
Okay.
Anyway, my mom dropped me off at Sean's, expecting that Sean's mom would be trick-or-treating with us. After saying goodbye, I went into his house. Johnny was already there. We all had big pillow sacks to fill with candy.
Of course.
This was around the time that I learned that neither Sean's mom nor sister were coming with us to supervise.
Oh, no.
I was young, so I sort of felt slightly uncomfortable knowing that Johnny and Sean would be leading the way.
Right.
But at the same time, I felt a sense of excitement that we'd have more freedom. I knew for a fact my mom would not have approved of us going unsupervised, though.
Exactly. That's crazy. That's wild.
So eventually, we were off into the neighborhood.
I didn't even do
walking
many
around
trick-or-treats.
doing our rounds door to door.
I have memory of like
Quite a few
one
people asked if we were
singular
alone
time.
or where our parents were, and Johnny would always be the one to use the same lie.
What?
That his mom is up ahead with his sister.
Oh, yeah, sure.
It worked every time. This was on a Friday, so we didn't get to start at trick-or-treating until around 5 o'clock. But we didn't have school the next day, so we intended on going until our pillow sacks were completely full. We took a break after a couple of hours and went to Sean's, where he heated up a bunch of frozen pizzas.
No.
At the time, I was so
Had my
jealous
share
of the
of those.
apparent freedom he had in his house, not having parents who cared about what he did. But looking back now, I count myself super blessed to have grown up in a household with 2 strict parents. After we hung out at his house for an hour and watched Halloween specials on Nickelodeon while eating pizza and candies, Johnny eventually was picked up by his mom. But Sean and I wanted to keep going, so we eventually headed back out for round 2. It was dark out now, and it had to be past 8 p.m. There were a lot less trick-or-treaters now. We tried to go to certain blocks we hadn't gone down yet, which meant straying further away from Sean's house.
That's crazy. I
We
could
found
never.
a block we hadn't touched yet, and continued knocking on doors. Some houses didn't answer at this hour, and mostly everyone else had a comment about us being alone or how it's getting late.
It's very late.
We noticed a man
Kids.
pushing a stroller a couple houses down behind us. He was walking very slowly in our direction. Probably a dad trick-or-treating for his young child.
I'd still cross the
As we
street.
continued going door to door, the man with the stroller got closer.
I would have crossed the street.
Eventually, we heard him going shh and singing softly. Eventually, he caught up to us, and he said, "How's the trick-or-treating going, boys?" And we replied,
Don't like
"Good,"
that.
at the same time. And then he said, "It's pretty late. I'm on my way back to my house. I can give you guys the rest of my candy." Sean and I looked at each other with telling faces, as if we just hit the jackpot.
No, you idiots.
Sean
You
asked
stupid
what
kids.
kind of candies, and he said a bunch of bags of different things. He said he didn't get to give much away because he wanted to take his daughter out for a trick-or-treat stroll. He did have a bag dangling on one of the handles of the stroller.
It's a stroller,
It was
though.
filled with some candies. The stroller was fully covered by a folding piece on the top.
It's empty.
So we couldn't see his daughter.
There's nobody in there.
He said she's asleep and he didn't
Nope.
want to wake her up.
Nope.
But he pointed ahead and said
Nope.
his house is just up this way. So we followed behind him as he pushed the stroller. He was walking a little faster now. As we walked, I realized there was next to no one else out at this point, even though it was a Friday night. It seemed like a quieter side of the neighborhood.
You turned back.
The man talked to us as we walked, asking us questions.
Why are you still
What
talking to
part of
him?
the neighborhood we were from.
I'm
where
not
we went to
telling you
school,
that.
Basic stuff.
Or that.
I let Sean answer most of the questions.
Don't tell him anything.
Him being even just a year older than me at that age, I felt like he was the one who should take lead.
Nigga, how
On
about...
multiple occasions as we walked, the man would lean into the stroller and talk in a high pitch to his daughter.
There's nobody there.
And he'd turn back and smile at us.
It's probably like a doll.
We finally made it to his house.
Why are
He led us up the walkway with the stroller and unlocked his door.
Oh.
After he opened it, he brought the stroller with his daughter inside first.
You're idiots.
And then invited us to come inside.
No!
Sean led the way, so I followed. I was the one to ask if we could leave the door open.
Please?
And the man paused and then said, "Yeah, of course." He said he'll be
At least
right
you're
back
kinda
as he
smart.
goes to get the candy bag.
You're still stupid to go in his house, but you're
Pushed
kind of
the
smart.
stroller into the middle of the living room, only about 10 feet away from where we were standing.
It's a scam this
Nudged
nigga
Sean
runs.
because I felt uncomfortable.
This is a scam he
I
runs.
whispered, "Why would he leave the candy so far away?" Sean didn't respond.
The common sense
Instead,
you
he
lack.
turned toward the living room and then walked up to the stroller.
Get out. Yeah, look in
Lifted
it.
up the folding part that was covering the baby.
None in there.
And he looked disturbed.
What?
He hurried back to me, whispering, "Let's go."
Get the fuck out. Run.
He was full on running once we got outside.
Right,
And I
you-
followed behind,
you
which
freaking
was a bit
run.
tougher because we had those heavy pillow sacks. I still was confused about what he saw, but just then we heard a woman's voice yell, "Excuse me." It was one of his neighbors.
Whoop.
She came running over to us and asked if we know that man.
Oh.
And it was at this point that Sean spilled the beans and said he offered us his leftover candy, but
Freaking-
he was pushing a stroller with a fake baby in it.
Oh, I knew it. I
I
knew
remember
it.
getting goosebumps as he said that. The woman said, "Yeah, that man doesn't have a child. I saw you was walking by with him." She took us to her car and drove each of us home.
Hey,
Now,
W.
getting into a stranger's car after that was another questionable
That
move.
that is, yeah. She
The
could have been
woman
working
came
with
to
him.
my front door to talk to my mom about what we just told her.
Could just brought you right
My
back.
mom was distraught. After I told her every
Ugh.
last detail about the night, she sent me to my room while my parents called the police on that man.
Yeah, good, good.
My parents never told me anything about what happened after that. I believe they wanted to shelter me from any more exposure to the situation. My mom didn't want me going over to Sean's house anymore, and I know she had quite a bit to say to Sean's mom.
Oh yeah,
I did see Sean at school once in a while still, and we remained cordial,
yeah.
but our friendship was never the same after that
Why
night.
would it be? You idiots. How? No one taught you not to go into strangers' houses. Oh, I got some candy for you. It's
It was
classic.
Halloween night, 2016. I was tasked by my parents to hand out candies to all the kids for the day.
Okay, you're
My
older.
mom bought a million bags of candy that I knew we'd have left over for weeks, and I'd be the one regrettably munching on them for days, if not weeks to come, as I was trying to lose weight. I
I'm
always told
same.
my mom she went way overboard.
I'm
with the
in that boat
candies.
right now.
The house was in a cul-de-sac on a dead end. We
Trying to
hardly
lose
got
weight, but
any
I'm-
trick-or-treaters usually.
Eating this shit.
However, we did have some loyal kids who'd always come to our house, knowing how much candy we'd give. Halloween was on a Monday this year.
Mm-hmm.
I was in college.
Mm.
I conveniently had Mondays and Wednesdays off this semester. So the first half of the day, I went to the gym and then worked on my assignments for class. It was always around 4 p.m. that the sound of kids outside would indicate that trick-or-treaters were out.
Mm-hmm.
The first time the doorbell rang was, I guess, somewhere between 4 p.m. and 5 p.m. The day went as you'd expect. There's nothing interesting about handing out candies all day to little kids.
I
and
imagine.
my dog Vito barking like crazy every time the doorbell rang.
That would be my dog. Yeah.
I'd say from the first trick-or-treater to 8 p.m., there were maybe 10 to 15 total. As I said, that cul-de-sac was out of the way for people to come.
Unicorn
It was
costume.
more effective for trick-or-treaters to pass it and just keep going straight.
Yeah, I don't live in a
It being a
trick-or-treating
Monday night,
neighborhood.
things quieted down
Let's
much
say.
earlier than usual, I'd say.
No one does that shit here.
I got enough homework done, I put a dent in my projects, and so I had some of my mom's leftover stew and went to my room to watch Game of Thrones. I was literally 2 episodes in when I heard the unexpected sound of the doorbell. Vito started barking again.
At 2016,
I looked at the clock and it had to be like 9:30.
I think Game of Thrones is still
This
good.
was definitely beyond the cutoff time for trick-or-treaters. I went downstairs to the front door and opened it. On the other side of the glass storm door was a very tall man in a clown costume with a very scary-looking mask. I knew it was a man just based off the frame of the person. He was alone. He waved at me and then pointed at the brown sack he was holding.
Sir,
It's basically empty.
sir, you're a
I
man.
didn't open the storm door. I just said through it, sorry, we don't have any more candy.
Also, you're a grown
Slammed the
man.
door shut. I
Good.
locked it right away. I instantly regretted opening the door. I genuinely thought it was just some kid or an unfortunate mother or father who worked late and wanted to get some last-minute trick-or-treating in with their kids.
A kid that
Whoever I just saw
tall?
on our stoop was not a kid.
Yeah,
Hell, it didn't even look like a teenager.
right.
The frame of this person was massive, and the clown costume just made him look even bigger. Thankfully, I didn't grab the candy bag before opening the door,
Freaking
so
Art.
he couldn't see that I was lying.
Art the
I
clown,
held by
man.
the door for a bit just to listen and see if I'd hear footsteps walking away.
Nah, he's still standing there.
Not only did I not hear him walk away, he rang the doorbell again. Vito once again started going ballistic. Vito's a rat terrier. His bark is not intimidating,
Oh.
nor would he ever actually defend the home from an intruder.
My dog
Picked
would.
him up and carried him upstairs after turning off the lights downstairs.
Even though he's not that big.
This was my half-assed attempt at getting him to think I was absolutely never opening that door again tonight. I
Ring-
put Vito in my room. and
ring this
shut the
doorbell one
door
more
so
time,
he
see what
wouldn't
happens.
keep barking. I stood at the top of the stairs listening, and then I heard through the front door, the storm door being forced open, like there was a loud snap and plop.
I'm already wearing the John Wick costume. This is exactly what's gonna happen here. It fits. I got the costume on. You knew it was coming out. If you've watched my horror story videos before, you knew this was coming out. And again, for YouTube purposes, this is just a BB gun. But in the real situation, buddy, again, I am in a stand your ground state, and I'm proud of it because I will stand my motherfucking ground. Okay.
Implying that the latch may have been broken from force.
Absolutely not.
I then heard both knocks on the front door and
Yep.
the doorknob moving around. At this point, I decided to hide in my room.
You gonna die.
I was incredibly unsettled. I texted my family group chat about what was going on. No one answered, though.
Why?
Of course. I knew that whoever that was had to get bored. I would have texted all my guy friends asking who it was, but all my guy friends are short. I resumed the episode
I'm
I was
short.
watching.
What does that mean?
Truly just trying to pretend he wasn't there. What else was I to do? The doorbell rang once again, though. This was a nightmare. I kept telling Vito to shush. I had my blinds closed, too. I didn't want that fucking clown knowing what room I was in.
That's true.
I tried calling my dad, but he didn't pick up. I called my brother, who picked up saying he wasn't alone. And I knew that meant he was with a girl.
Oh,
I told him check my texts. There's some guy dressed as a clown at the door. He won't go away. My brother said it's a Halloween prank and to just
No!
ignore it. He seemed like he was in a hurry to get off the phone.
yeah,
so
so you
hung
can
up.
clap some cheeks. That's why.
I hoped he was right. It honestly made the most sense to be a prank. So after a few more minutes of sitting on the edge of my bed, anxious, the doorbell did not ring again. I finally felt safe to relax again and lay back down. I started drifting away slowly, so I turned off the TV to allow complete silence and darkness in the room.
Right? Sure.
And very shortly after that, I drifted to sleep.
So it doesn't wake you up.
I don't even think I was asleep long enough to enter REM state and have a dream when I woke up to Tito growling and quietly barking, as he would do when he was waiting for approval from one of us.
Oh, somebody's in the house.
I told him to be quiet, and he stopped. I looked to see what he was looking at. He was looking at the window.
Ooh.
I listened. There was a sound coming from, like, right outside the window.
Oh, hell.
The slightest thumping sounds. And I could almost swear the sound of something rubbing on the window. My bedroom was on the second floor of the house. It's not like anyone could be outside my window. I
What?
wondered what it was. I got up and pushed open the blind on my window.
Why?
Boy, was I wrong.
Why would you do? Oh!
Just as the clown was opening the window, all I could see was that horrific mask on the other side of the
No!
glass. He tilted his head as he looked at me, screaming
Buddy.
my lungs out.
Let's go.
Tito didn't even bark from what I remember. Or maybe I just blocked everything else out.
Even if I don't have one of
Ran
these,
with
I'm
my
swinging.
phone out of my room and to my parents' bedroom, where I locked the door and dialed 911.
I'm swinging.
I was too shook to even cry. My whole body was shaking and my voice was trembling.
But again, this seems to be a girl, so.
I must have asked the operator once every 20 seconds to get the police to hurry up.
Brother, I'm telling you right now,
The same thing every time.
I'm swinging. Let's
Running
fucking
as
go.
fast as they can. The police got to the house in roughly 10 minutes. They examined the exterior of the house to look for any attempted entry points. All they found was that the latch on the front storm door was broken, like I figured.
If I don't,
Leaned against the side of the house by my bedroom window was my dad's ladder. That man went into our storage shed outside and found my dad's ladder.
How did he
used
know
to
what
climb
room
up
you
to
were
my
at?
window. To avoid this going any further, I went to go sleep at my guy friend Adam's house.
yeah.
To this day, I don't know if this was just a sick
You take a dog
prank
with you?
purposely played on Halloween, or if there was about to be a horrible crime committed with the sick novelty of it being Halloween.
If I don't have a piece, we're squaring up. It's just that simple. I ain't going down without a fight. We ain't playing these games.
It was late October, Saturday, Halloween.
Halloween.
I think Halloween was on a Tuesday this year, so the big party night was the Saturday before. My friends and I were still
Makes
looking
sense.
for last-minute plans since everything was sold out. Ideally, we wanted to find a house party. We all had pretty funny costumes too, and we wanted to get good use out of them. My friend Kate actually decided to put on her Instagram and Snapchat stories looking for parties tonight. Not something I would have ever done. I'd find that to be kind of shameless and embarrassing, but I was glad she was willing to do it. I was surprised when she texted in the group chat that someone hit her up about a party. Pretty soon after, she sent a screenshot of the details in the group chat. It had an address, start time, and a few ground rules, such as the party would only be indoors, no backyard access, and bring your own booze. It also said must bring at least one girl for every guy. The guy who sent the details to Kate was one of our guy friends around our age, who mutually knew a lot of the same people we did. Apparently a number of people we knew were going to this party. The house address was one town over, super close. So between the four of us, we all went to Shauna's house since she had the open crib. We pre-gamed there for
Who
about
still
an
says
hour
crib?
as we all finished up getting ready. We waited till our guy friends confirmed that they were going. Then we decided to head over.
Another girl. I
We
see.
called an Uber. We all had our own drinks, varying from Four Locos to White Claws to vodka shooters.
Never had
The Uber
either of those
driver was
things.
probably sick of us by the end of the drive. When we got to the house, we saw a bunch of cars everywhere. The house was pretty big, very spacious front yard. We were four girls walking in, so surely whoever was throwing this party was gonna love us. We didn't hear any music until we got closer to the door. Then we heard the beating of the bass. I opened the door, and the first room we were in was a cross between the living room and the kitchen. The entire house was very dimly lit, only by a bunch of orange lights hung up, definitely creating a Halloween party ambiance. The place was decently crowded, but honestly, we didn't know anyone. Kate texted the guys we knew to see if they were here yet. In the meantime, some older guy came and greeted us. He asked our
Parent?
names, and he said he's John, Luke's dad. Apparently, Luke was the guy throwing this party.
John and Luke.
I asked
Biblical
who
names.
Luke is, where he goes to school, and he replied, "Oh, he's around here somewhere. You can ask him when you see him."
How do I know what it
And
looked
he
like?
asked us if we wanted to put our drinks in the cooler. He led us into the kitchen, where there were 3 big coolers of ice. Each one already had a bunch of drinks in it. So we put some of our cans in the coolers. The John guy seemed like he was 50-something years old, which would make sense if his son was the one throwing the party.
Alright.
But at the same time, it seemed slightly weird he'd be so welcoming and involved in such a big party in his own house. He was going around talking to everybody. Well, it seems mostly the girls. He seemed like he could have also been drunk. The 4 of us played beer pong at one of the tables, where some guys started talking to us, so we started playing them. Kate then said our guy friends were on the way, which I was happy to hear. John suddenly yelled my and Kate's names over by the counter in the kitchen. He was yelling shots. My other 2 friends, Shauna and Tracy, looked slightly offended.
Why?
So I said, "Can we all have one?" And he yelled, "Yeah, sure." So we went over to the kitchen counter by him and all took a shot of tequila. I gagged because there was no line. I was definitely starting to get drunk after this.
Of course.
It was odd how much the dad of the house was trying to hype this party up.
Yeah.
He had this oddly welcoming yet unsettling presence. The unsettling part because he was much older than the generally college-age people here.
How's it go, fellow kids?
Then he asked what our poison is. I wasn't going to say anything until the girls all gave their favorite drinks. John started making a bunch of mixed drinks.
You better watch him make that.
In the meantime, we went back to the beer pong table where the guys we were playing were still waiting.
You better watch him make
I
that.
plugged my phone into an outlet just because I was down to like 50%. Then I went back to the game. Mid-game, John came over with 2 drinks for Kate and I,
he spiked
came
it.
back with 2 more for Shauna and Tracy.
He spiked it.
They were all in red Solo cups.
He spiked it.
He made me a vodka soda. I sipped on it during our beer pong game whenever I had a chance.
You about to pass out.
I was drinking it slow because I was already drunk.
You're gonna wake up
After we lost to the random guys,
somewhere you don't want to be.
Get my phone, only to realize it didn't charge at all. It was still at the same percent.
It's like, get out. They unplugged it.
Wasn't working.
Oh,
I didn't feel comfortable leaving my phone on any other outlets, so I just refrained from killing the battery any further. Our guy friends eventually showed up, and it was soon after this point that things quickly became a blur. I mean, very quickly.
Because you got
One
spiked!
second I remember talking with our friend Jeff. The next, blacked out.
I told you!
The next thing I remember was my friends waking me up in the car outside my house.
I told you!
I felt woozy. My vision was blurred. My head was spinning.
I had a feeling before we even got to this third story. I was just like, okay, they're at a party. What if the horror is going to be someone taking advantage of you on Halloween in one of these parties? And it was right. I was right.
We were in one of our guy friends' cars.
This is true horror right
One
here.
of the guys walked me to my front door and helped me inside.
What happened to
They all
you?
left. I was alone, except for my parents asleep in their room. I felt I must have drank way too much.
That's
I
not.
also had a woozy, weird feeling in my head
You
that I never felt from drinking.
You got
I
spiked.
felt dizzy.
I said to watch
Straight
him
to my room to bed.
make the
I
drink.
checked my phone, and I had some text from a random unsaved number. I opened it, and there were a bunch of texts already. It started with me texting my name, and then they responded, John. After that, he said, you look so cute. Based on the time he sent this, it was still during the party. There was a 2-hour gap from then until he texted me again saying, where did my favorite girls go?
Oh,
I
God.
was shocked at myself that I gave that man my number.
This is
Must have been
horrifying.
stronger than I thought. But regardless, I lowered my head onto the pillow and fell asleep instantly.
Brother, don't you realize what happened?
The next morning, I woke up to some disturbing texts.
Don't you realize what happened?
As my head was spinning, I read these sickening texts. After I fell asleep, I got texts from John that said, where are you? I'm coming to your house. You left something here. Followed by, I'm here. Can you come to the door?
No!
By, hello, are you awake? He also tried calling me 3 times. This was all at like 2 a.m. I sent the screenshot to my friends, and this was when they reminded me of what happened.
You black.
John was all over me as I was increasingly becoming a zombie. My friends started getting concerned.
Oh my
so
God.
They pulled me away and we left the party.
Ugh.
And just as we were leaving, 2 police cars showed up outside, presumably for a noise complaint. And as we left, everyone took note of there being no furniture in the house. It was just a big empty space filled with people and beer pong tables. One of my guy friends looked up the number somehow, and he told me it was a voice over IP number, which I didn't understand, so he just said it was a fake phone number that John texted me from. He also said that with my number, he could easily find my address. I felt even more sick now. I asked if anyone ever met his alleged son, and everyone said no.
He had no
We
son.
were starting to think there was no son, and when Shauna suggested he might have roofied me, it made so much sense. I'd never before felt the way I was feeling. We decided to take this to the police. We all went to the nearest police station and reported everything, including the texts. The cop at the front desk asked if this was in relation to the house party in the vacant house last night. We were at first confused by him saying
Vacant?
house, until he explained that there was a call from neighbors about a party going on in a house that had been vacant for some time. We all looked at each other with our mouths gaping.
Holy
We
shit.
were all brought into an office to sit down with, I guess, a detective to take down the whole story. He took the fake phone number and said they'll try to trace this back to somebody once they get a warrant. We gave the police everything we could, and we went on our way. I blocked the fake number.
This is
I
horrifying.
honestly felt sick over this for a while.
Yeah.
As the days went on and nothing happened, I was confident it was over.
This is the most horrifying one
None
yet.
of us ever heard from the police. We never heard of any arrests being made or anything. To think that man went out of his way to advertise a house party in a vacant house to have access to young women, movie me and possibly other girls, lied about having a son, all of this. This was clearly a very, very dangerous man.
Yep.
And the fact that we still haven't been called in to identify anybody scares me to think he's
still out
free.
there.
This was a month ago.
He's still out there.
I'll update if things change.
Oh,
I'm crossing my fingers that they do.
You better watch yourself. He's still out there. He's hiding in the shadows. Okay, alright. Yeah, so, I think, obviously you got your stuff like, people in clown costumes stalking you and stuff like that and being outside your house and all that stuff. Like getting the ladder and being up on your second floor window, your room window. Like that stuff. Anytime these stories happen and there's like people in costumes or something following you or whatever, yeah, sure, that's disturbing, that's creepy, that's messed up. But it's when you get things like your average everyday like creep, where like in the first story with the dude who had a fake baby, lured some kids into his house on some what's his face from Family Guy, Herbert, on some Herbert stuff, like some real creep behavior. That's just so like that is real. Like those people exist for real. Just going out luring kids places and snatching them. That happens. I don't know if it happens every day, but it happens a lot in life. That's why they're on the list. And then you get something like this. This guy's roofing young girls at parties. This stuff happens. This is real. Like I'm not saying that the stuff with the clown costume and that stuff doesn't happen. Whatever. Sure, I'm sure it happens here and there. But I feel like the first story and this third story, this last story, that stuff is much more common just to happen no matter what the holiday is, whether it's Halloween or not. That is horrifying. Like this is, it's more than just disturbing, horrifying. And Mr. Nightmare did a damn good job at telling those stories, because good lord, I feel icky right now, especially because that last one is like, it's a good thing nothing else happened to her while she was blacked out, because that could have been real bad. But yeah, happy Halloween, folks. Let me know what you guys thought of this video. Make sure once again you go over to Mr. Nightmare's channel, subscribe to him. Make sure, as I said, you subscribe here as well, okay? Or else you want the Baba Yaga to come get you. That's what's gonna happen if you don't subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, all right? Get me to 1,000 subscribers. Like the video. I want a bunch of likes. I want a bunch of comments. Okay? I don't want nothing else. I want subscriptions, comments, likes. I want all that. All of it. Okay? And hit the notify bell so you know every time I upload a new video. Do all that stuff, man. Do all of that, or else the Baba Yaga will come and get you. Okay? John Wick himself will come get you. Now, I'm going to enjoy the rest of my Halloween. You do the same. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.